on a Thursday as we continue 5 south. Luckily, good weather, no more rain in the area as we continue, so we don't have to worry about as many hazards on the freeway in terms of weather conditions. But luckily, with this not going at super high rates of speed, 75 miles an hour now, it's not posing a lot of danger to the public that it's passing. That driver is still sticking to that number 1, number 2 lane. Very, very smooth driving, not very erratic at this point, but the CHP is ready, and they are planning for different options, say this pursuit ends, as well as different ways to end a pursuit. So there are things like spike strips that they can use if they can find some sort of consistency in the driving. They can consider a pit maneuver. They consider other tactics as well. But right now, it just seems like the CHP is content on following this vehicle in pursuit as we continue 5 southbound through Burbank Boulevard. It's a little hard to say at this point, Glenn. We're still probably 2 miles away from that interchange. But what we've noticed from this driver so far is it kind of seems like the tendency is just wanting to go south. So we haven't seen him jump on the 170. That could have been an option if they wanted to go more west or east. But we'll just have to see as we continue southbound here. In just about a mile, mile and a half, we should see that interchange coming up, and we'll be able to decide there. But as this driver kind of kind of stays in the center of the freeway, that allows that driver a bunch of different options as we continue southbound here, including deciding if they want to get off and get on those surface streets. And in those cases, the CHP might have to hand it off to Burbank Police or one of the other agencies. But right now, the CHP is continuing in this pursuit. They've actually moved over to one of their statewide channels, their blue channels, from the local offices up here to a statewide channel so that it's easy as this pursuit continues into other jurisdictions of the CHP for those officers in those different areas to access the channel, to listen to what's happening, what has happened, so that they're prepared for what's coming. And then those other officers from the pursuing agencies that are in it right now can know when they are free to back out without having to do a lot of dancing between the dispatchers on the different offices' frequencies. But we're still continuing southbound, coming up on Western. We're now in the Glendale area here, right about the 134. It looks like we're going to be sticking to the 5 southbound at this point if the driver continues in this number 2 lane. But if you're not familiar with this area up here, this is the 5 134. The LA Riverbeds right here. We have the LA Zoo as well, and this is kind of a major interchange, especially this time of day as people start to head home from work back into the San Gabriel Valley, back up into the San Fernando Valley, and out of the downtown LA area as well. Yeah, that's for sure. And just looking ahead out the front of Skyview or Sky 5, down towards the zoo, probably in about a mile, where we actually see the traffic come to a stop for the most part. So the driver's going to have to make a decision up here if they're just going to sit in that traffic or if they're going to try to get off the freeway. That driver should be just in any minute here starting to see that slowdown coming up. So this may be a good option for the CHP to use one of their tools in their tool belt on how to stop a pursuit, as well as the driver might just end up giving up just due to the fact that there's so much traffic that they might not be able to get by. But also in those situations, Glenn and Lou, we actually start to see the drivers sometimes get a little desperate and try other tactics to get away from the police, like using the center divider or that right shoulder, that emergency lane, and that can become very, very dangerous, especially in those traffic situations, because who knows, there might be an accident ahead that's causing that slowdown. You see the slowdown there, that driver jumping all the way over into that number 1 lane and coming to a stop. Now here we'll have to see what happens. And it looks like the CHP is right there on the driver's tail, setting up for a possible termination, but that driver is still continuing now. Just with the flow of traffic here, about 15 miles an hour here southbound 5 coming up on Colorado Street. we that does happen from time to time, and we hear that, whether it's just someone who's just completely unaware of the police right behind them, or sometimes it's a language barrier or some misunderstanding between the driver and what to do in those situations when police have their lights and sirens going behind them. But this doesn't seem to be necessarily the case here. That driver is speeding up, trying to get away from those officers, and the drivers had plenty of time now, probably over 20 minutes now, to heed to those lights and sirens behind them. Those aren't very quiet sirens, that's for sure. And what we're hearing now from the LAPD airship that's over the pursuit is there is quite possibly a passenger in the vehicle as well. So we don't know what dynamic that brings to the situation. Is the driver doing this willingly? Is the passenger in there willingly? We don't know what's happening inside that vehicle right now, and so it's a very tense situation for those officers on the ground. Not only do they have to worry about the public and the safety of the public around, like all that traffic that we're seeing here, but they also have to worry about what's happening inside that vehicle. You can see that CHP airship just flying through the shop there. They're now taking over for the LAPD to look inside that vehicle, see what's going on, as well as call to pursuit for those officers on the ground so that they can focus on driving and focus on that safety mechanism, because their first priority is keeping the public safe. And we would hate to see an officer get in an accident or something trying to stop or get a vehicle to stop and cause more of a problem. So they're going to be focusing more on driving while that airship is overhead, trying to look inside, see what's going on, calling out the pursuit in terms of locations for the other officers in the area, for those dispatchers and commanders back at the dispatch center. And it looks like we're seeing that window roll down, and the driver is kind of gesturing out the window, and hands off the wheel, kind of making gestures and talking, it looks like, inside that vehicle. So that could confirm the fact that we have a passenger inside that vehicle. But this is the first time we've seen that window down, the suspect looking out of the vehicle, kind of looking up at us helicopters here. And so it does seem as if that driver is aware of the situation, what's going on, and is aware that there are police behind them. With that window down, they surely can hear the sirens, that's for sure. It's a little tough right now. We'll try to get you a better shot as we work down the 5 freeway here, going through Glendale Boulevard. Just a little bit of an angle issue with those semis, but now all the way over into that number 4 lane. And this just opens up opportunities for that driver to consider to jump off the freeway. You can see that CHP officer to the top of your screen. That officer is here to do one of those, as I kind of describe them, leapfrogs that the CHP is known to do, where they hand off between agencies. So now we're going out of the Altadena area of CHP to more the central area of California Highway Patrol, and there was your handoff right there, that SUV taking over for that Dodge Charger that was in the pursuit just moments ago, and they're going to now take over this pursuit as it goes into their jurisdiction here, 5 southbound at Glendale Boulevard. And what that does is it just gives a new set of eyes on the ground, a new people who know the jurisdiction, know their freeways, know the side streets, and gives those officers a break that were in that pursuit through the San Fernando Valley. And it's something that we always see with the California Highway Patrol, something they're really good at, and it allows the CHP to take a pursuit from, say, Santa Clarita all the way down to San Diego, or from LA all the way up to San Diego with no problem, because they can do that seamless transition so very easily. And they not only hand off that pursuing primary unit that you see there, that SUV, but they also hand off the backup unit, the second unit in the pursuit, as well as the supervisor sometimes trades out as well, bringing a whole set of fresh eyes to continue this pursuit. Now, the CHP only runs with 3 units in their pursuit, but they can bring in more if needed. They can also request assistance from agencies in the area, like LAPD or Glendale PD if they need that. They can bring in K-9 if that's necessary. There's all sorts of different options that the CHP has, as well as they have all their own specialty teams in those areas as well. But you can rest assured that not only the CHP are involved in this, but all those agencies in the area, the sheriffs, the LAPD, the local agencies like Glendale, they are all notified of this just in case it comes off the street, that they can assist if they're required, if set up a perimeter if they need to. But that airship overhead is going to be kind of directing those tactics if it comes to it. But now we're just still sitting in this traffic going about 10, 15 miles an hour. So, and now we're stopped here. That car is just stopped. That's a great catch, Lou. We haven't really seen that, and that could be related to that front driver just hearing the lights and sirens and stopping, or they're taking matters into their own hands to bring this to an end. You can see now the California Highway Patrol getting out and trying to do that standoff, but that driver just went around that other SUV and continues on their way. Now that's a very dangerous situation for a driver to get involved in, and to get involved in pursuit in their own personal vehicle. That is not something that's recommended or wanted by the law enforcement agencies, because now you're putting yourself in danger, and not only do the officers have to worry about the general public, but also themselves and the other people in the vehicle, but they have to worry about that person that was in that SUV that was stopping the suspect vehicle as well, because now they're in the line of fire. If for some reason a firefight did occur, that vehicle could get rounds into it as well, and so that person is in harm's way. And the officers now have to worry about that fact as well. So not something you want to do if you see a pursuit come up on you while you're on the freeway or surface street, is get involved. Just pull to the side of the road, just like we're taught when we're learning to drive. Pull to the side of the road, get out of the way, heed way to those officers, and let them do their job, because they are trained specifically for this type of event. And I can tell you from doing some mock pursuits with some police officers that there's a lot that they are worrying about when they're in these pursuit situations. It's very taxing. It's very exhausting. They train a lot for this, and they train for how they terminate, how they end as well. And so taking as many factors out of that as possible is what they want to do. That's why we see the officers do traffic breaks and block off intersections when these pursuits come to an end. And that's to protect the public and take as many variables out of the equation as possible as they attempt to apprehend the suspect. But we're still continuing 5 southbound here through about Stadium Way. Still very, very heavy traffic. That driver doing something we don't really see often in these pursuits on the freeway, especially in traffic, and staying in the lanes of traffic, not jumping in those center dividers or those right shoulders to avoid the traffic. Just kind of, sticking with the flow of traffic. We kind of have an opportunity here. We're going to try to peek in that front window a little more. Just give me 1 second to adjust the camera. And it looks like we may have a female driver. And it's hard to see from this vantage point just due to the glare if there's a passenger in there. But there goes that window right back up. And we're still just sitting in this traffic. That traffic's kind of moving a little bit, but that black SUV doing what that black sedan doing what that white SUV did earlier and trying to stop it, and that vehicle was deciding to kind of go around it at that point, but that black car continued on. And so this just seems like it's going to be the formula for this as we continue southbound on the 5, is just sticking with traffic. And there we go, right into the center divider. The first time we've seen that since this pursuit started, and kind of making our way down the freeway now. Now, different options that the CHP has to end this would be a pit maneuver at the right speeds. Or at this situation, you see those officers kind of wedged in the trucks right there. They just deployed a spike strip. So that was a successful spike strip if I've seen one. The car driving right over it there. And what those spike strips do, I was just reading up on it a little more, is they have removable little spikes in them. And those spikes are hollowed. And it looks like we're stopping here. And a passenger out of the vehicle. I'm going to hold a little wider of a shot. A canine unit from the CHP is here. You see that dog in the center of your screen. Just in case that driver decides to run, those canine officers are a lot faster than those officers with 2 legs, that's for sure. And so what we're going to see here is they're probably going to ask the driver to throw out the keys, open the door from the outside, and exit the vehicle. And now it's just a waiting game, but the time is on those officers' side. They have plenty of manpower here, as well as that freeway shutdown, just in case they need that, but also for those officers' safety. They don't have to worry about cars rushing past them or putting any of the public in danger. But I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit, try to get you a little better shot, see what's going on. But just that driver looks like they're sitting in that driver's seat, hand out the window. Doesn't look like they are ready to comply at this point, and now we're just running into a situation which might turn into more of a waiting game to talk that driver out of the vehicle and bring this pursuit to a fully successful termination. So here we go. Yeah, the CHP doing a little different tactic here. It doesn't look like the driver wanted to comply, so they're going to go up and talk to that driver face to face. You see the shields there. Guns drawn for safety purposes and cover, but 4 officers there, and what they're going to do, it looks like, is going to open that door and remove that driver. But it looks like the driver is just conferring with the officers right now. What they've also probably started doing is talking to that passenger that came out and see what the state of the driver is, what's going on. You can see that one officer going over there, unlocking the door so that they can remove that driver. This is a very unusual situation for a pursuit termination here, but the CHP knows what they're doing, and it looks like they were able to remove that driver, and now it's a matter of detaining that driver, taking control of that driver, and taking them into custody. But you can see plenty of officers here clearing that vehicle as well to make sure there's no one else in there that could be of any harm or anything else of danger. And it looks like we have both the driver and passenger detained and in custody, and a successful into this pursuit coming out of the Newhall area. That's all I got, buddy. Yeah, she's in this unit right here. Okay, headed back to the barn.